I still remember that evening like it was yesterday. The kitchen smelled like rosemary and roasted garlic, and I was putting the finishing touches on a meal I had spent 3 days planning. After 2 years of dating Marcus, his parents were finally coming to dinner. I thought it meant something. I thought we were moving forward. But standing there with oven mitts in my hands, I had no idea that in just a few minutes I would hear words that would change everything I believed about love, about trust, and about the man I had given my heart to. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. If you have ever trusted someone who turned out to be completely different from who you thought they were, hit that like button. And if you are new here, make sure to subscribe so you do not miss any of my stories. Now, let me take you back to how it all began so you can understand why what I heard that night shattered everything I believed. My name is Nora, and at 28 years old, I thought I had built a pretty good life for myself. I worked as a financial analyst at my father's company. Not because I needed the family connection, but because I genuinely loved numbers. I loved the way spreadsheets told stories, the way patterns emerged from chaos if you just knew where to look. My father, Harold, built that company from nothing. He started with a small accounting firm in a rented office above a dry cleaner, and over 30 years, he turned it into one of the most respected financial consulting firms in our city. People always assumed I had everything handed to me, but my father made sure I understood the value of hard work. I started in the mailroom during summers in high school. I interned without pay through college. I earned my position. My mother passed away when I was 15. Breast cancer. It happened slowly then, all at once. One day, she was making me breakfast and reminding me to study for my history test, and 18 months later, I was standing in a black dress watching them lower her casket into the ground. That kind of loss changes you. It made me softer in some ways, more desperate to hold on to the people I loved. Looking back, I think that desperation blinded me to things I should have seen clearly. After Mom died, Dad threw himself into work and into raising me. He never remarried. He said there would never be anyone else for him. He left me her house in his will, transferred the deed to me when I turned 25. It was a beautiful 2-story colonial in the suburbs with a wraparound porch and a garden that Mom had planted herself. I kept that garden alive. It felt like keeping a piece of her alive too. I met Marcus at an art gallery opening 2 years ago. My friend Diane had dragged me there, insisting I needed to get out more. I was standing in front of an abstract painting, pretending to understand it, when a voice beside me said, "You look exactly as confused as I feel." I turned, and there he was. Tall, dark hair, a smile that made my stomach flip. He introduced himself as a freelance photographer, working to build his portfolio and make a name for himself. Marcus was charming in a way that felt effortless. He remembered small things I mentioned. He surprised me with flowers for no reason. He texted good morning every single day. After years of dating men who could not be bothered to make plans more than 2 hours in advance, Marcus felt like a revelation. 6 months into our relationship, he mentioned that his lease was ending. His roommate was moving out of state and rent was getting expensive. He wondered almost shyly if maybe he could stay with me for a little while, just until he got his photography business more established. He would contribute however he could. He just needed a chance to focus on his art without the stress of barely making rent. I said yes. Of course I said yes. I loved him and I believed in his dreams. What kind of partner would I be if I did not support him? In the beginning, things were wonderful. Marcus cooked dinner sometimes. He would surprise me with prints of his photographs, framed and hung around the house. He talked about the future like I was part of it. We would travel together once his career took off. We would maybe get a dog, maybe someday kids. But months passed and his career stayed perpetually on the verge of taking off. There were always expenses: a new camera lens, software subscriptions, a workshop that would really help him network. I paid for all of it. I did not keep track at first because keeping track felt petty. You do not count pennies with someone you love. At least, that is what I told myself. Diane noticed things I refused to see. She pointed out that Marcus never talked about specific clients or projects. She mentioned that every time our friend group made plans, Marcus had an excuse to skip. She asked me once very gently why I had never met his family after almost 2 years together. I had answers for everything. He was private. He was focused on work. His family lived far away, and they were not close. The excuses came so easily because I wanted them to be true. The alternative was admitting that maybe I had given my heart to someone who did not deserve it, and I was not ready to face that possibility. So when Marcus finally suggested inviting his parents over for dinner, I felt validated. See, I told myself, he is ready to take this step. He wants them to meet me. Everything is fine. The day of the dinner, I took a half day off work. I wanted everything to be perfect. I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I polished silverware that had belonged to my grandmother. I set the dining room table with my mother's good china, the set with the delicate blue flowers around the edges that she only brought out for special occasions. I decided on roast chicken with rosemary potatoes and a spring salad. For dessert, I made a chocolate torte from scratch. I even bought fresh flowers for the centerpiece white roses and baby's breath elegant and welcoming. Marcus seemed pleased with my efforts. He kissed me on the cheek as I arranged the flowers and told me I was amazing. His parents would love me, he said. Everything would be perfect. Gerald and Patricia arrived at 6:30. Gerald was a tall man with silver hair and a firm handshake that felt more like a power move than a greeting. His eyes swept over the house in a way that felt like appraisal. Patricia was petite and well-dressed with perfectly styled blonde hair and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She complimented the house in a tone that somehow made it sound like criticism. Dinner conversation was stilted. Gerald talked mostly about himself, about his real estate investments, about a golf trip he had taken recently. Patricia asked me questions about my work, but I noticed her eyes glazing over when I answered. Marcus laughed at all his father's jokes and agreed with everything his mother said. I had never seen him so eager to please. After the main course, I excused myself to get dessert. The chocolate torte was in the refrigerator, and I needed to slice it and add the fresh berries I had prepared. I pushed through the swinging door into the kitchen, the sounds of the dining room muffling behind me. That is when I heard it. Marcus's laugh came first. Not his real laugh, the one I heard when we watched comedy movies together. This was different, sharper, crueler. "She is boring," he said. His voice carried clearly through the door I had not fully closed. "Her dad's money keeps me comfortable while I figure things out." My hands froze on the refrigerator handle. I could not have heard that right. I must have misunderstood. But then he continued, "I will stick around long enough to squeeze what I can out of her. Then I will find someone worth showing off." Gerald snorted, the sound of approval from a man I had spent all evening trying to impress. And then, Patricia's voice, quieter but perfectly clear. "Just do not get her pregnant." They all laughed. All three of them laughing at me, at my cooking, at my careful preparations, at my stupid hope that this dinner meant something. I stood frozen in that kitchen. The torte sat on the counter where I had placed it, the berries arranged in a perfect spiral on top. My mother's china was in the dining room, my grandmother's silverware. All the things that meant something to me being used as props in whatever game Marcus was playing. I could not breathe. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a belt around my ribs and kept pulling. 2 years. 2 years of my life, my money, my trust, my heart. All of it had been a lie. My first instinct was to storm back in there, to flip the table, to throw the torte in his face, to scream until my throat was raw. But something stopped me. Maybe it was my father's voice in my head, reminding me that emotions make you stupid, and that the person who keeps their head always wins. Maybe it was just shock, the kind that freezes you in place while your brain tries to catch up with reality. I looked at my reflection in the dark window above the sink. My mascara was not running. My hair was still neatly styled. From the outside, I looked fine. Nobody would know that everything inside me had just shattered. I picked up the torte. I carried it to the dining room. I served them each a slice with a smile on my face and a calm I did not feel in my voice. I watched Marcus take a bite and tell me it was delicious. I watched Patricia dab at her lips with my mother's linen napkins. I watched Gerald check his watch like he had somewhere better to be. They had no idea I had heard. And in that moment, I decided they were not going to find out. Not yet. Not until I was ready. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I laughed at the right moments. I answered questions. I walked them to the door and told them it was lovely to meet them. Marcus hugged me in the foyer and whispered that I had done great, that his parents were impressed. I smiled and told him I was glad. That night, while Marcus snored beside me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind was racing, replaying every moment of the past 2 years. All the red flags I had ignored, all the excuses I had made, all the money I had spent trying to support his dreams when he never had any intention of building a life with me. I was not going to cry. I was not going to confront him in a way that let him spin the story, play the victim, make me look crazy. I was going to be smart about this. I was going to make sure that when Marcus left my life, he left with nothing. The next few days were a masterclass in acting. I smiled at Marcus over breakfast. I kissed him goodbye when he left for his meetings. I pretended everything was normal while my heart felt like it was being held together with tape and willpower. But behind the scenes, I was busy. The first thing I did was call my friend Diane. I told her everything, every word I had overheard. She was furious on my behalf, ready to drive over and physically throw Marcus out of the house. But I asked her to wait. I had a plan, and I needed her to trust me. Next, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but the best family attorney in the city. I explained my situation. Marcus was not on my lease. The house was in my name alone. We were not married. The lawyer confirmed what I suspected. I had every legal right to ask him to leave, and if he refused, I could involve the police. Then I started gathering evidence. Not because I needed it legally, but because I needed it for myself. I went through 2 years of bank statements. The numbers were staggering. I had given Marcus over $40,000. Equipment, rent money he claimed he needed for his old apartment before he moved in, a car repair, an investment opportunity that turned out to be nothing. $40,000, and he had never paid back a single cent. I found receipts for things I did not buy, expensive dinners at restaurants I had never been to, jewelry from a store where I had never shopped. The dates matched nights when Marcus said he was networking or meeting potential clients. The final piece came when Marcus left his phone on the bathroom counter while he showered. I had never checked his phone before. I had trusted him completely, but trust was a luxury I could no longer afford. There were hundreds of messages with someone named Amber, flirty messages, explicit messages, plans to meet up. The messages went back 6 months. 6 months of him lying to my face while sharing a bed with me every night. I did not cry when I read them. I think I was past crying. I just felt cold, like something inside me had frozen solid to protect me from feeling the full weight of his betrayal. I put the phone back exactly where I found it. Marcus never knew I had looked. For the next week, I made preparations. I contacted a locksmith and scheduled an appointment for Saturday morning. I bought packing boxes and heavy-duty tape. I wrote out a list of every item in the house that belonged to Marcus. It was not a long list. I also drafted an email. It was addressed to Gerald and Patricia. In it, I detailed exactly how much money their son had taken from me. I attached bank statements and receipts. I included screenshots of his messages with Amber. I explained in calm and measured language that I was ending my relationship with their son and that I thought they should know the kind of man they raised. I did not send it yet. That would come later. Saturday arrived. Marcus woke up around 9 and announced he was meeting a potential client for brunch. He would be back in the afternoon. He kissed me on the cheek like he always did, completely oblivious. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I called the locksmith. By noon, every lock in the house had been changed. By 1, All of Marcus's belongings were packed into boxes and sitting on the front porch. His clothes, his cameras, his laptop, everything he owned fit into 6 medium-sized boxes. 2 years of living in my house, and that was all he had accumulated. Diane came over around 2. She brought wine and moral support. We sat in my living room, the room that finally felt like mine again, and we waited. Marcus returned at 4:15. I watched from the window as he pulled into the driveway. I watched his confusion as he noticed the boxes on the porch. I watched him try his key in the lock once, twice, 3 times, his movements becoming more frantic. Then came the knocking, then the doorbell, then his voice calling my name, asking what was going on, demanding to know if this was some kind of joke. I opened the door. He looked at me with wide eyes, his face a mask of bewildered innocence. "Nora, baby, what's happening? Why is all my stuff outside? Did we get robbed?" I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I kept my voice perfectly level. "She is boring," I said. "Her dad's money keeps me comfortable while I figure things out." The color drained from his face. "I will stick around long enough to squeeze what I can out of her," I continued. "Then I will find someone worth showing off." His mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "Just do not get her pregnant," I finished. "Your mother's advice, if I remember correctly." "Nora, that was— I did not mean— You do not understand." He was stammering now. His charm completely evaporated. "It was just talk. My parents, they expect certain things. I was just playing along." "And Amber?" I asked calmly. "Was she just playing along too?" His face went white, then red. He tried to reach for me, and I stepped back. "You have 15 minutes to load your boxes into your car and leave my property," I said. "If you are still here after that, I will call the police." "You cannot do this." His voice cracked. "I live here. This is my home too. Your name is not on the deed. Your name is not on any utility bill. You are not on the lease because there is no lease because I own this house. My lawyer has already confirmed that I have every right to remove you. 15 minutes, Marcus." He changed tactics then. The anger melted into something that was supposed to look like remorse. He actually dropped to his knees on my porch. "Please, Nora, I love you. I know I messed up, but we can work through this. Just give me a chance to explain." I looked down at him. This man I had loved, this man I had trusted, this man who had used me for 2 years without a shred of guilt. I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a vast, empty calm. "You never loved me," I said, "and I would rather be alone than be used." Diane appeared beside me in the doorway. She did not say anything. She did not have to. Her presence was enough. Marcus got to his feet. His expression shifted again, hardening into something ugly. "You will regret this," he spat. "Do you think anyone else is going to want you? You are not special, Nora. You are just a boring rich girl with daddy issues." "Maybe," I replied. "But at least I am not a liar and a cheat living off someone else's generosity. Your boxes are getting rained on. You might want to hurry." I closed the door in his face. Through the window, I watched him load his boxes into his car. He made 3 trips, slamming his trunk harder each time. Before he got in the driver's seat, he stood on my lawn and stared at my house for a long moment. His lips were moving, probably cursing me, probably calling his parents. Speaking of which, I picked up my phone and hit send on that email. Then I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch in my house in my life that finally belonged to me again. I wish I could tell you that I felt triumphant immediately, that kicking Marcus out was cathartic and empowering, and that I danced around my living room celebrating my freedom. The truth is, the first few weeks were hard. Not because I missed Marcus. I did not. But I missed who I thought he was. I missed the future I had imagined with him. I missed the version of myself that was capable of trusting completely without reservation, without fear. There were nights when I lay awake replaying conversations, looking for the moment I should have known. There were mornings when I woke up and reached for his side of the bed before remembering it was empty. There were hours when I felt like the biggest fool who ever lived, a woman who could analyze financial statements for fraud but could not see she was being conned in her own home. My father came over a few days after Marcus left. He sat with me on the porch, the same porch where I had placed those boxes, and he told me he was proud of me. "Your mother would be proud too," he said. "Not because you threw him out, because you knew you deserved better." That made me cry. Not the betrayal, not the wasted years, but those words from my father invoking my mother, acknowledging that I had done something hard and done it with dignity. Diane was relentless in her support. She showed up with ice cream and terrible movies. She dragged me to a hiking group she had joined. She listened when I needed to talk and distracted me when I needed to forget. Slowly, I started rebuilding. Not rebuilding a relationship, but rebuilding myself. I realized I had spent 2 years dimming my own light to make Marcus comfortable. I stopped going out with my friends because he did not like them. I stopped pursuing hobbies because he needed me available. I stopped trusting my own instincts because he was so good at making me doubt them. Now I got to rediscover who I was. I started a journal. I took a pottery class, something I had always wanted to try. I redecorated the bedroom, new sheets, new curtains, no trace of him left. I tended my mother's garden and found peace in the simple act of nurturing something alive. 6 months after that dinner, I barely thought about Marcus anymore. He had become a chapter in my story, not the whole book. A painful chapter, yes, but also a necessary one. I learned things from that experience that I could not have learned any other way. I learned that love is not just words. It is actions, consistency, reciprocity. I learned that someone can say all the right things while meaning none of them. I learned that my gut instincts are worth trusting even when they tell me things I do not want to hear. Most importantly, I learned that being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Being with someone who makes you feel alone, that is worse. Being with someone who sees you as a means to an end, that is worse. Being with someone who laughs about you with his parents while you prepare him dessert, that is worse. A few months ago, I ran into someone who knew Marcus. She mentioned almost casually that he and Amber had broken up. Apparently, once Amber realized Marcus had no money of his own, no prospects, no wealthy girlfriend supporting him, she lost interest fast. Last anyone heard, he had moved back in with Gerald and Patricia. I did not feel satisfied hearing that. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt nothing. His life is his life. My life is mine. And mine is pretty good these days. I'm not saying I have sworn off love forever. I'm not saying I will never trust anyone again. But I am saying that the next person who earns my heart will have to actually earn it. I know my worth now. I am not an option or a stepping stone or a comfortable place to wait until something better comes along. I am a choice worth making, and I will not settle for anyone who does not see that. If you are watching this and you have ever been where I was trapped in something that looked like love but felt like a slow drain on your soul, I want you to know that you can leave. It will hurt. It will be hard. There will be nights when you wonder if you made a mistake. But there will also be mornings when you wake up and realize your life is your own again. And those mornings are worth everything. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone show you their true colors when they thought you were not watching? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I know there are others out there who need to hear that they are not alone. If this story touched you, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already, and share this with someone who might need to hear it today. We all have stories worth telling, and sometimes hearing someone else's story is exactly what we need to find the strength to write our own. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening. And remember, you deserve someone who chooses you fully and honestly in every room of the house, not just when they think you can hear them. Take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.